my mapping rule, mapping notation. I'm going to create my image points. Plug in 0 here. 0 divided by 3 is 0, plus 30 is just 30. 90 divided by 3 is 30. 30 plus 30 is 60. 180 divided by 3 is 60. 60, yes, that's 90. And you'll notice that for this unit, for the trig periodic functions, the x values are going to be pretty nice. Like they're gonna follow a pattern. So once you find the pattern, you can kind of just always go up by the same amount. So in this case, I'm just going up by 30s. Once I have my few points, I can be like, all right, I know the next point is going to be 180. Next point is going to be 210. So, patterns. There's a lot of patterns here. Because remember, it's a periodic function. It's repeating. So we expect for values to repeat. We expect for the pattern to, have some, for the graph, to have some kind of pattern. Okay. 1. Plug in 1 here. Negative 1.5 times 1 is obviously negative 1.5, plus 0.5 is negative 1. Plug in the 0. Plug in 0, this whole first term becomes 0, because 0 times anything is 0. This is 0.5. Plug in negative 1. Negative 1, that's going to be now positive, because negative times negative is positive. 1.5 plus 0.5 is 2. 0 again. Well, we already did 0, so we know that if I do it again, it's just going to be the same value. And 1, we already did 1, so it's got to be negative 1. And you'll notice something about my y values. Negative 1, 0.5, 2, 0.5, negative 1. They're repeating. And they're actually going to repeat a whole cycle. Remember cycles? Remember how the function is repeating cycles? So this negative 1 and this negative 1 are exactly the same point in the cycle. So the value after this negative 1 is 0.5. That means the value after this negative 1 is also going to be 0.5. And then we follow the pattern. This is going to be 2. And we know that these are just going up by 30. So I can just keep extending this however long I need to. Let's say the graph wants us to draw 2 cycles. So then I would extend this to 2 cycles. And then I would also follow the pattern. So 0.5, 2, 2, and then after 2 is 0.5. After 0.5 is negative 1. And now this negative 1, this negative 1 are exactly the same. And I can, draw the next one or input the next value. So once you've figured out your 5 main points, you can now use those 5 points to just replicate and repeat the pattern, moving forward. Now, just so you are aware, I'm doing all of this in this one question because I don't know if I'll have time to do another question. So, yeah, so I'm cramming in a lot. Just pay attention. The question may have not asked for this, but other questions might ask for this. You can also go backwards. What do I mean by backwards? I mean the x value. I can draw x values going in the reverse direction. And I know the pattern is what? Well, clearly if I'm going up by 30s, then if I'm going the reverse order, I'm going down by 30. So now, if I wanted to, let's say, extend this graph and go up, the value above 30 is going to be 0, because remember, we're going minus 30, and it's going to be minus 30. And yes, you can have minus degrees. Don't think you can't have minus angles. We actually went over minus angles. Remember, minus 250 degrees or minus 40 degrees or whatever. All right, and then minus 60. Kind of ran out of room there. I'm going to erase this part because we don't need this anymore. We already did that, I think. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. I don't know. Well, I'm just going to just to show you how to do this. Negative 60, negative 90, negative 120. All right, so I've got quite a few points now. Well, what about my y values? Well, remember the pattern. Negative 1 to negative 1 is the pattern. And if this is negative 1, and I know that this is negative 1, they're the same point in the pattern. What's the value above negative 1? Well, the value above negative 1 is 0.5. So this has to be 0.5. Then the value above that 0.5 is 2. So this has to be 2. The value above that 2 is 0.5. So this has to be 0.5. And the value above that 0.5 is negative 1. So this has to be negative 1. And then remember, the less, the 0.5, and so on. The pattern repeats. So I just wanted to show you that you can extend your graph to the left and to the right into the negative degrees and to the positive degrees. So sometimes the question will ask you to do that. It will ask you to draw the function from negative 360 degrees to positive 360 degrees. It may ask you that. It may not. It may just ask you from 0 to 360 degrees. Whatever the question asks, you have to do. So yeah, so this is how you do it. All right, so I haven't really graphed it yet. I've just drawn a nice long table of values. Well, honestly, graphing, once you made the table of values, that's the hardest part. Graphing is the easy part. So let me do that right now. I want a graph that has a negative value. This one, nice. Time to steal this. Boom. Now I can show you like how to graph negative and positives as well. It's gonna be hard to. Oh, there. Perfect. Let's draw it in purple and let's do it thinner. So the first value, remember, so the first value we actually started with 30. So I'm gonna start with 30. So 30 is clearly halfway between 0 and 60. So I should probably put these in. So if I was drawing this from scratch, I would have automatically put 30, like go up by 30s, because it would make my life easier. But this is not bad either, because honestly, halfway points are pretty common. Okay, so 30 and negative 1. So negative 1 is here, 30 is here. My next value is 60 and 0.5. So 60 and 1 is here. Oh, actually, sorry, I forgot to mention something. Before you start drawing, you obviously make your scales, like your y values and x values, which we did, which we have. But the very first thing you always do is when graphing, you draw a dotted line to show where your midline is. And where is your midline? Your midline is always your C value. So just find your C value, 0.5, and now draw a nice dotted line at 0.5. So you always start like that. Always, trust me, always. Just do it. All right, and now we can draw our graph. So our first point was 30 and negative 1, 60 and 0.5. So I know that 0.5 has to be here because that's my midline. Next point is 90 and 2. So 90 and 2, so we're up here. Now we're at 120 and 0.5. So 120 and back to the middle line. 150 and negative 1. So 150 and negative 1, back down to minimum. And now I'm going to continue. So these would have been my first 5 points. I would have just graphed these 5 points. And yeah, that's not bad. I mean, yeah, you might get full marks depending on what the question is asking. So this technically is correct, but normally we like to graph at least from 0 to 360, at least, if not more. So the next point is 180 and 0.5, 210 and 2, 240 and a half, so 240 and a half, 270 and negative 1. So here we have another cycle. And now we have 270 and negative 1, so no, I already draw 270, sorry, 300.5. And I didn't actually extend it. I could just extend it. I mean, I can just do, we're going up by 30s, right? So 330 and 360. But I want to show you the other way. Once I've actually drawn my 5 points, I don't have to extend the table. If I can visually just see, hey, you know what? I know that there's a pattern here. What's the pattern? Well, look, I have a minimum here. And from my minimum point, I'm going to a middle line, a midpoint. And then from the midpoint, I'm going back to a maximum.